Hello, listeners of Mysteries of Science. The episode you're about to hear was recorded live at the Cheltenham Science Festival. It's all about magic, and you can even watch some of the tricks online too. Just head to sciencenature.theweekjunior.co.uk/magic. The Mysteries of Science team will be back in 2 weeks with a regular episode, but until then, enjoy this live special and, as always, stay curious.
I'm delighted to welcome you to Cheltenham Science Festival's 2023. I'm Isabella, and it's my pleasure to introduce this amazing event on such a wonderful day. It's great to see you all here. The Cheltenham Science Festival runs all week, so there'll be many more events which may interest you. So please consider exploring what the Science Festivals have to offer. Questions are open at the end and when we come to the audience. Without further ado, please welcome to the stage our hosts, Dan Green and Michael Dalton.
Hello and welcome to Magical Mysteries of Science. My name's Dan Green and I'm the editor of The Week Junior Science and Nature, the monthly magazine from the team behind The Week Junior.
Hello, and I'm Michael, and I'm the features editor. On Mysteries of Science, we explore strange and unexplained phenomena that have left scientists scratching their heads and to this day remain unsolved.
And today we're joined by a very special audience at the Cheltenham Science Festival.
Fantastic. So today we're going to be exploring the mysteries of magic, trying to understand whether or not magic is real. And we're joined by 3 expert guests who are going to help us with this investigation and who knows, maybe even do some magic themselves. So let's meet them.
Hello, my name's Matt Pritchard. I'm a lapsed atomic physicist, I'm a magician, and I'm an illusion designer.
I'm Katie Steckles. I'm a mathematician and I study maths at school, as many of the people in the audience here will be currently doing. I went to university and studied maths as well, and at the end of uni I decided I hadn't had enough maths, so I carried on, did a bit of research into maths, and now my job is to talk about maths. So I do lots of shows and talks about maths, and I also very much enjoy performing mathematical magic tricks.
Hello, I'm Steve Mould. I studied physics at university and now I make science videos on YouTube.
Brilliant. Let's welcome all of our guests. So let's kick off this investigation today with a little experiment. I'm going to ask everybody, what does magic mean to you? I think it's quite a nebulous term, really. What comes to mind when you think of magic? Michael, what about you?
Well, when I think of magic, I think of Darren Brown, former guest on Mysteries of Science.
We have Darren Brown on our show.
We had Darren Brown on our show. And he talked to us about luck and whether or not there's such a thing as luck. And he'd managed to trick a whole town into thinking that this statue of a dog was lucky. So if people went and patted this dog statue on the head, that it would bring them good luck. So those are the kind of things I think of when I think of magic, these tricks that make people believe in things that may or may not be true. How about you, Dan?
The first thing that comes to mind, I think, is a friend of mine who travelled to West Africa one time, and he went to a market and he bought a spell from a local magician who lived there, who wrote down an invisibility spell on a piece of paper, and he took it away and he went on a bus ride. And to this day, he believes that he was invisible for the whole of that bus ride because of his magic spell that he bought. You can't convince him otherwise. That's kind of what I think.
When was the last time you saw this friend, Dan?
Come to think of it, I haven't seen him for years.
He could be here today. He might be sat in one of these empty chairs somewhere.
Excellent.
Well, why don't we ask our guests what they think of when they think of magic?
So for me, I think of magic as I'm going to use a special phrase. I'm going to call it cognitive dissonance, and that sounds fancy. It just basically when your brain goes, what's going on here? It's when your brain, when your mind knows something's a trick, but your gut reaction says it's real. And so when you experience something on stage, like a Darren Brown thing, your mind knows he's tricking you, but your gut says it's real, and it's that cognitive dissonance in the middle that I think is the real power of magic.
Fantastic. I think there is a sense in which we can all kind of experience magic, because for me it's about, I guess, the sense of wonder of kind of seeing something that makes you think, wow, or, something that kind of makes you speechless for a moment. Like you think, I don't understand this. I think it's beautiful or wonderful or something. And one way to achieve that is through, I guess, tricking people, not in a mean, horrible kind of way, but in kind of showing people something in a way that they're not expecting, as you say, or something that you've kind of hidden something and then you reveal it, and kind of creating that moment of wonder.
Yeah, I'm someone who always wants to know how things work, Probably like most people in this room, actually. I want to know how things work, which is why I got into science in the first place. So when I see a magic trick, my brain's just worrying, how is it done? How is it done? And what's amazing about magic tricks is often it's about psychology and how our brains work. So sometimes you'll be exploring mathematics in a magic trick because it'll be like the way you move the cards. But sometimes it'll be about like how our eyes work. It'll be about confirmation bias, all these crazy things that our heads do. So it's a great way to explore psychology and all sorts of other things.
So it sounds like you're quite skeptical. You want to know how it works, whereas I'm completely fooled by magic tricks. I'm just like, I'm in the camp of just, wow, how did they do that? What about people who've come here today? What do you think about magic? Shall we ask the audience and see what they think? What do you think when you think about magic?
Maybe one of you with your hands up would like to tell us what magic power you would most like to have.
I like to control water.
You'd like to control water? What would you do with water if you could control it?
I don't know.
You divert streams, make huge waves, or just have, a glass of water to hand at all times.
We're in a garden in just in front of Cheltenham Town Hall, and there's some fountains behind us, and I wonder if later we can see you controlling the fountains there and sort of maybe cooling us all down.
Teleport.
That would be good.
Brilliant, yes.
Yeah.
For people who are always running late, teleportation power is the ultimate, isn't it? To be able to get exactly where you need to be and be on time.
Brilliant. Well, maybe, Matt, what power would you most like to have?
I think I'd like what Dan's friend had with the invisibility power. I think sometimes just when things get a bit too busy or noisy, I'd just like to hide away and not have to talk to people.
Great stuff. Katie?
I reckon I would say time travel, but not like in the proper sense where you can, go back and, accidentally stop yourself from being born, but just 30 seconds into the past. So if you've done, you drop a glass on the floor, you can be like, ooh, and then just go back 30 seconds and then very carefully put the glass down somewhere so you don't drop it.
It's like an edit button or an undo
like
button.
An undo button for the universe.
Yeah.
That's really annoying because that was going to be my one.
Well, if we go back in time 30 seconds, I could say something.
10 seconds into the future.
Yeah.
It's a good power.
For me, it was just going to be to avoid all the times I put my foot in my mouth. Just like any embarrassing social situation, I can just undo it.
Excellent. Yes, I could probably do with that as well, actually. Yeah. And there was a fellow here with a blue stripy top.
Just to say that I think the most influential magician I've ever seen is Tommy Cooper. And the reason I loved him so much was because not only was his magic, but his humour was for everybody. So we could all laugh at him and at the same time be totally confused. And sometimes he showed you how it worked, and sometimes he just left you completely mesmerised.
Absolutely. Tommy Cooper, what a legend. Well, anyway, as you can see, I think magic means... Actually, it's a bit of a strange term, so I think actually maybe what we need to do is define our terms a little bit. It seems to mean a lot to different people, different things. So I would say, broadly speaking, are we safe for saying magic's something that kind of exists outside of the normal everyday world that we live in? Is that fair? Can we sort of go forward with that? And maybe I'd also sort of venture as well, it may be something like the opposite of science, if that's fair to say. If science is all about shining light and finding out how things work, perhaps magic is a little bit more about hiding in the darkness and hiding all the secrets about how things work.
I'm not so sure about that, Dan.
Fair enough. Open to debate.
I think sometimes we can see magic and science as opposite, but I think both are trying to understand and discover more about the world and also control it as well. Scientists want to understand and then build things to help people, and I think magicians want to be able to control those laws of nature as well.
Like controlling water.
Yeah. I'm still quite dry at the moment.
Excellent. Well,
Excellent. Well, maybe, Matt, you can talk us through how people can be fooled and kind of shine a light on some of the secrets behind magic for us.
Yeah, so I have brought along one of my favourite shapes. This is a six-sided shape, and it's more than just a six-sided shape. It's also a red-sided shape, and on this side it's also a blue side. So I've got a six-sided hexagon. It's red, it's blue, but if I was to mix the colours red and blue together, I'd end up with a third colour. I'd end up with purple. And so now we've got three sides. We've got red and blue and purple. I haven't told you about the yellow side, and so now we've got four sides. We've got yellow and blue mixed together makes what? Green. Yeah, we are doing a live podcast, and so we have got green, and now that's five, and there's one last colour. Can we predict what the last colour is going to be? Orange. Yeah, you're bright cookies, all of you. We've got the orange side. I love this shape. It's not a trick. It's just a very magical object, and it's called a hexaflexagon. It's a ridiculous name for a ridiculous shape. It's called that because it's got six sides. So it's got the hexa word, which often means six, and it's got the six colours, and so it's got a second hexa, and it folds and it flexes, and so it's a hexaflexagon. One of my favourite shapes. I'd like to show you a video on the screens behind me because, as I said at the start, I love creating illusions, and this is one example of something I've made. I'm going to show you this video 3 times. The first time you're going to experience the magic effect. The second time, I'm going to take you behind the mystery, behind the curtain. You'll get a side view. But it happens really quickly. So the very last time you'll see it, I'll slow it down, and you'll see exactly how it works. Are we ready? Here we go. So now's the side view. On the left is what you've just seen, and on the right is a backstage view. Now I said it's quick, so let's slow it down. Now, did we see the strings pull it up? Now, I reckon almost everyone at one stage of your life, you have taken a flat piece of paper and you would have cut it into some squares and you've folded it up and you've made a cube. And we call that a net, when you can fold a shape into something 3D. This is what I call a self-assembling net. You pull the strings and the shape just folds and makes itself. And this is something that mathematicians have been aware of, and I thought, well, we could turn this into a magic trick, and so I then built the effect around it with that mirror, turning a reflection into reality. And it's a fun little video, but also it's got some real applications in life, because engineers at places like NASA want to launch satellites and telescopes into space, and they will have really big solar panels, or they'll have really big mirrors to collect the light for the telescopes. But you can't fit those inside rockets, so what they do is they fold those solar panels up, they fold those telescope mirrors up, and then when they get into space, they unfold them, and it becomes a bigger area. And so engineers who are building like these satellites are looking to techniques in origami and mathematics to then try and build it on a big scale and do their magic trick around a space orbit. Let's try some bits of audience interaction. So the first thing I'm going to show you here is 2 words on the screen. It's got the word science and it's got the word magic. But again, I've used a mirror, and I find mirrors really quite magical. And the reflection of the word is not science backwards. It's something totally different. But I think if you're looking, you can see it's not a flat piece of paper. You can see at the bottom from the Lego squares it's been bent. So let's take a slightly different perspective on this. And we'll have a little bit of a fly round, and you can see it's been made from like a staircase shape on its side. And I've printed half the letters on one face and half the letters on the other. And when you view it from one angle, you see the word science. When you view it from the other angle, you see the word magic. Two different perspectives on something much more wonderful. And I think for me, getting back to what I was saying with Dan earlier, that's what science and magic is. It's two different perspectives on the world. And the world is more wonderful than just what science can grasp. And it's more wonderful that you can view just through the eyes of magic. And you need both to get a richer, fuller, deeper appreciation. So I'm going to divide the room in half, and the dividing line is going to go straight down the middle here, from where I'm stood to the pole at the back of the room, okay? So I know I'm dividing up some families right now. So if you're on this side of the room, you are side A. Let's have a cheer, side A. Yeah. If you're on this side of the room, side B, cheer. I like side A. This is side B. You've got some work to do, okay? Side A, in a moment, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. Don't peek at the screens. Side B, you've got 2 seconds to remember what's on the screens. And then we'll swap rounds. Okay, so side A, eyes closed, heads down so you can't see. Side B, your 2 seconds starts now. Okay, look up. Side A. Side B, look at the screens. Side B, eyes closed. Side A, look at the screens. So side B looking down, side A, remember what you can see. And then everyone look up. 2 seconds thereabouts. Can you remember the symbol that went in the middle? What was it? Do you want to shout out? What did you see? She says B. Do we agree it was B? Yeah. Okay, lots of nodding, lots of cheers. Side A's not so convinced. What did we see over here? Give me a cheer if you saw 13. Yeah. And who saw B? Now, the funny thing is you both saw the same thing. That's what you saw. In the middle, it's one symbol, but as a magician, I was sneaky. Some of you saw letters, and when you see letters, it makes you interpret that middle shape as a letter as well. If you saw numbers, you interpret it as a number. Sometimes the background, sometimes the context we find ourselves in affects what we see. Some of you were in a numbers world, some of you were in a letters world. Okay, I'm going to put a sentence on the screen here. Shall we all read it out together? Are you ready? Here we go. It's coming up now. The brain chooses a reality based on the situation. But there's something odd about this. Has anyone spotted what might be odd? We've got someone down at front. Maybe, Andrew, you could come and get a mic to our gentleman here. What did you spot here?
I found that the A and the H look the same.
The letters A and H look the same. Good spot. Did anyone else spot that? Yeah, so I deliberately had the shapes of those letters the same. But if that symbol was between a letter T and E, you saw it as an H. If it was in the middle of like the word brain, you saw it as an A. How we look at things affects what we see. And our brain does some amazing sort of tricks up there. It's not just a camera, it's more than a camera. I'm going to show you one last illusion I've designed. And I've spent a lot of the last few years sort of playing around, since mainly the pandemic, creating these optical illusions that often exploit the perspective, the angle you look at things. And this next illusion won the Best Illusion of the Year contest a couple of weeks ago. It's a competition that's run by psychologists and neuroscientists. That's people who look at like the sort of brain's chemical reactions and try and understand it that way. And they set a competition for illusions because it's a very ethical way of breaking someone's brain and seeing where it goes wrong. And when you see how it breaks, you can often learn something about the brain. So we'll watch the video, and then I'll show you exactly how it works. So here we go. So it's a very short video. And did you see the Harry Potter reference? There was a car that just drove straight through a brick wall. It looked like some special sort of CGI effects, but it's very analog, very down to earth. So I'm going to show you the video again, and there's an extra 4 seconds at the end, which will show you exactly how it works. So let's view it one last time. What you've just experienced is what we call an anamorphic illusion. That's where you have a shape that, when viewed from one particular angle, looks like something completely else. And I had a gap in the wall, and on the ground behind it, I'd created this anamorphic illusion that filled in the hole. And all I had to do was simply push the car through, and you saw that effect. So we're just going to watch it one last time, and then we're going to hand over to our next speaker.
That is amazing. Thank you so much, Matt. That is absolutely amazing. I mean, I've watched that video a lot of times now, and it still breaks my brain every time. I now know how it works, but every time I see that wall, I try to spot the little gaps in between, and it's not just that car disappears and reappears on the other side every time. So that's absolutely amazing. Thank you very much. And also, let's give Matt congratulations for winning the Illusion of the Year.
Thank you.
So we've got another magician with us, a very different kind of magician, a mathemagician. I bet you've never heard that one before.
I've heard that a few times. I think, so I thought I would share with you a few of my favourite mathematical magic tricks, and some of these are things which you wouldn't necessarily think of as being mathematical tricks, because they're kind of just really magic tricks, and in fact all of these are the kind of thing that you might see an actual magician perform. So I thought I would start with a card trick, because obviously that feels like a magic trick. That's the kind of thing magicians would normally do, but this is going to be a mathematical card trick, and I love mathematical card tricks for a few different reasons, and one of them in particular is that they're really easy to do, because you don't need to be a professional magician, you don't need to be able to hide things up your sleeve or do any kind of trickery. The trick just works by itself, and actually for that reason magicians really quite like mathematical card tricks as well, because they're quite easy to perform and they don't need to worry about them going wrong. So I'm going to show you this trick, but potentially in a way that you wouldn't necessarily see a magician, because what I'm going to do is explain everything I'm doing quite carefully, and it means that hopefully you can remember this, or if you're listening along to the podcast, you can get some cards and try this for yourself as you're listening along. The other thing I will need, I've got a stack of cards here. I have 27 cards. I've not got a full deck, I've just counted out 27 of them, and I will need a volunteer to come up and make some very simple decisions. You don't need to do very much at all, you just need to come up and have some opinions about things. So let's go with, towards the back there, yes, fantastic. Let's have a massive round of applause for a volunteer if you want to come up. Cool, and if you want to just stand here to my left, you can see what's going on. So I say I've got 27 cards here. I don't know which cards they are, I just counted them off the top of the deck. I would like you to choose one of those cards, so pick a card from the fan of cards that I'm holding out, pull it out. Grab it. Now, I'm not going to look, but you have a look at that card. If you want to show it to the audience, you could hold it underneath this camera. I've got my eyes shut, so I can't see anything, and I don't know if you're even doing this, but hopefully that camera is now showing on the screen and people can see. Can someone say yes if everyone's there? Good. Okay, so now put the card away so I can't see it anymore, and I'll open my eyes. You got the card? Fantastic. Do you want to put it back in there somewhere? And I will again not look to see where you put it. Could be anywhere. Fantastic. So I've got the cards, and I'm now going to deal them out onto the table. I'm going to deal them in 3 piles. And what I want you to do is watch very carefully as I do this, because at some point your card is going to come out. When it does, remain calm. Okay? Don't get excited. Don't kind of start jumping up and down or pointing or anything. Just chill. Just stay nice and chill, so I don't notice. When your card comes out, I'm not going to see you react at all. But when I finish dealing these cards, I would like you to tell me which pile your card is in. In the right-hand pile. You sure? Fantastic. Okay, I will now steal these cards back again, and I'm going to do that again. I'm going to deal that again, and I'm going to deal them into 3 piles. So for anyone who's trying to recreate this at home, I'm making 3 piles of cards. I'm dealing them face up so that people can see what the cards are, and I'm also putting them slightly not on top of each other so that you can see all of the cards at once. So now I've done that again. Which pile was your card in that time? In the left-hand pile this time. Okay, so I'm going to pick them up again. I'm going to put all the cards together, and I'm going to deal them out one more time into 3 piles of 9, which, of course, when you have 27 cards, is a really easy thing to do, because 27 is 3 times 9. Just a bit of maths there, just to keep things going. Okay, 3rd time, and it's in the middle pile this time. Fantastic. Okay, so I don't know which card your card was. You've just told me which pile it's in, but there's 9 cards in the pile, so it could be any one of those 9 cards each time. What I'm going to ask you now is, what do you think is an unlucky number? 7 is an unlucky number in some countries. That's a really great answer. In the UK, I guess we have a more traditional unlucky number. Do you know what it is? Not know what it is? Anyone else in the audience want to shout it out? 13. We have 13 as an unlucky number, but 7 is even unluckier. So that was a fantastic answer. But 13 is the unlucky number that I was told when I was a kid. So I'm going to count 13 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Those cards are all unlucky. I don't like those cards, but I do like this card. Is that your card? Fantastic. Thank you very much. If you want to head back and sit down. Thank you. So this is a magical card trick, which, as I say, will always just work as long as you remember that 13 is not always what people think of when you ask them for an unlucky number. But, fantastic answer. I love that so much. That has reminded me of that fact. It's that in different countries, there are different things that are unlucky, and it's fantastic. But the thing about this trick is that it works because of mathematics. It works because of the numbers that are involved here. And I'm not going to give too much away about this, because part of the fun of doing this is working things out for yourself. But what I will say is, if I deal the cards into 3 piles, as I've just done, so I put 9 cards into each pile. I'm doing them face up because I need the person to be able to see the card when they're looking at the cards, but when I'm dealing them, I'm taking off the top of the pile. And if someone tells me their card is in, say, for example, this right-hand pile, I don't know if anyone was watching carefully, because that's what you've always got to do when you see someone do a magic trick. Every time I picked up the 3 piles of cards, I put the pile that had their card in into the middle. So I put their pile in the middle of the other 2. And then I did that again the second time, and I did that again the third time. And each time, I'm putting their card in the middle. So when I do it the second time, it's not just in the middle 9 cards, it's in the middle 3 cards, because it was in the middle of those 9 cards. And then the last time I put it in the middle of the middle 3 cards. So I know that it is then going to be the middle card. And if you're not sure, or you're not sure how that works, what you can do is, if you've got your 3 piles of 3, put them together, but put the middle pile the other way up, turn it upside down, and then you can see exactly which cards it is. And I know it's one of those 9 middle cards. When I then deal those out again, I'll put 3 in each pile, 3 in each pile, 3 in each pile. Then the next sets I put down will be from that middle set, because I'm onto the second set of 9. It's a really nice little trick. It will always work, but all you need to do is deal 3 piles of 9 every time and put the pile that someone has pointed at in the middle. So I will leave that one with you, because that's, I'd say, one of my favorite card tricks. It's sometimes called the 27 card trick for obvious reasons, but I think it is a really, really nice example of something where it looks like a magical effect. It looks like there's no possible way I could have known which card was your card, but I did, because I knew it was going to be card number 14 in that pile. Okay, my next quick trick, I'm going to get a piece of paper which has got a square grid on it, that way up, I think, and I'm going to get a Sharpie pen, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask for some help here to write on this piece of paper. So, has anyone heard of a magic square? Couple of people nodding in the room. This is a very magic thing. It's also a very mathematical thing, and I will need one volunteer to choose a number. So you can just sit where you are and shout out a number nice and loud. Maybe sort of a reasonable sized number, bigger than 25, not as big as 100. Sort of decent sized 2-digit number. Go for it. 40. 43. Okay, so if you can write the number 43 at the top there, so I can just at the top of the page there, so I can remember what I'm trying to add up to. Okay, and I'm going to try and tell you what to put in these boxes from top left to bottom right. That is currently slightly upside down on the camera there, so I'm going to bring the camera around to here so people can see it right way up. Okay, so top left, please write the number 23.
Me?
Yep. Top left corner, 23. Yeah.
I've done this before.
Okay.
I'm not very good at left and right.
Okay. Well, start as you would write.
Yes.
I'll read it across that way. So 23 in the first box. 1.
Next
and then next to it in the next box, and then 12 in the next box, and 7 in the last box. Okay. In the next row, I would like you to write 11, 8, then 22. And a 2 in the last box. The next row is going to be 5, and then I think a 10, 3, and 21. No, 25. Sorry, we're doing 43, aren't we? That's a 43. Good save. Rescued a 1 into a 5 there, I like it. And in the last row, 4, a 24, a 6, and then I think a 9. So if anyone's listening along at home, hopefully you can also just write those numbers down in those boxes and also rescue a 1 into a 5. But what I have created there is what's called a magic square. Thank you very much if you want to head back and sit down. And this is a square of numbers. I'm hoping that some people at least were impressed by what I was doing there, because I was doing that live working out as I go along. Thank you. Thank you for a small amount of applause. So what I've created is a square of numbers where if you add up the numbers in one of the rows, you will get a total of 43. So if I've got 23 here, that makes 24, add another 12 is 36, add another 7 makes 43. And if you want to check this with a calculator, you can do. If you add up any of the columns, you will also get 43. If you add up the diagonals of this square, you will also get 43. If you add up a little 2x2 square, if you pick any 2x2 square in the whole thing and add up the 4 numbers in it, you will also get a total of 43. In fact, there are over 36 different combinations in there, all of which will give you a total of 43. And again, this is a mathematical trick. So when I do this, people are really impressed by this. I've seen actual magicians do this on stage, but it's actually just a little bit of maths. And what I'm doing is I'm using patterns in numbers. I'm using the fact that numbers behave quite nicely, and I'm actually only changing a few of the numbers in there. So I've remembered what some of the numbers need to be. A couple of them change depending on what number I'm trying to add up to. And there is a really, really nice little technique for doing this. If you look up online how to make a 4x4 magic square, you'll find YouTube videos that explain how to do this. There's lots of different ways to do it. But it is something that I think is really quite impressive. There's this moment of wonder. There's this bit of magic with it, but it is actually just a little bit of using patterns and a little bit of exploiting mathematical ideas. Have I got time for one more 30-second trick? I will stick a quick extra trick on the end here, and this is a trick which was in a book by a magician called Harry Houdini. So Harry Houdini, as well as all of his wonderful escapology and ridiculous on-stage performances, also produced a book called Paper Magic. And this was a book about all of the various different tricks that you can do using a piece of paper. And in fact, what he was secretly also doing was tricks that use a little bit of maths as well. Because when you think about folding paper, you're thinking about geometry, you're thinking about shapes, you're thinking about lines and where lines cross and that kind of thing. And Harry Houdini included in his book instructions for how to use a piece of paper, fold up that piece of paper very carefully, and this is of course something you can do on stage. It's something that with enough practice you can do while talking to people about the fact that Harry Houdini included this as a trick in his book, and it's something that I've demonstrated here at the Cheltenham Science Festival previously, and people have very much enjoyed this. But I have folded up this piece of paper in such a way that I can make one straight cut, just like that. You heard it, hopefully on the microphone. And if I unfold this piece of paper, I have cut out a perfect 5-pointed star. And this is a magic trick. Jen, thank you. Genuinely a trick that Houdini recommended other people try and do. You can actually, with mathematics, you can cut out any shape you want to, as long as the edges of the shape are all straight lines. If you fold up the piece of paper carefully enough, you can cut out any shape you like. And this is another one which I recommend, if you want to learn how to do this, fantastic, do that, perform it, show everyone you know, but also just have a play with it, because you can learn how to cut out. If you start with something simple, maybe start with a square or a rectangle, you cut out a triangle, you cut out a hexagon, and then you can start start doing more interesting shapes, try and do letters of the alphabet. It's a really nice, fun little puzzle. So if you have a bored, rainy afternoon and you're sat around with some scissors and paper, top recommendation, draw some shapes and try and cut them out with just one straight cut, because if you do enough folds, maths tells us that it will always be possible to do that. So those are my magical tricks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Katie. That was brilliant. I must say, when I was at school, I was terrible at maths, but I think if I'd had you as a teacher and got to do some of those tricks, I'd have enjoyed it a lot more. Now, Steve, we've seen some magic already today, but I think you've got something special up your sleeve for us.
I just want to show you this one thing. It's a magical object. This is it. It's called the Assassin's Teapot. And it's called the Assassin's Teapot because what you can do is pour yourself a drink from the Assassin's Teapot and then knock it back, and then you can pour another drink for your enemy because you've just proved that it's not poisonous because you've taken a drink yourself. Then you pour another drink for your enemy and you say, have a drink, it's not poison, don't worry about the poison, there's no poison in there. I've just proved that. And they think, yeah, that's not suspiciously contrived at all. I'll take a drink of that. So they take a drink and then they die. Because the Assassin's Teapot, it's possible to pour two different drinks. And I'll demonstrate that now. So, for example, I can pour, there's black coffee or milk. That's cool, isn't it? Actually, there's a third drink you can pour, which is milky coffee. There we go. So how is that possible? Does anyone have any ideas of how I'm doing that? Yeah, go on. 3 different bits. Yeah, maybe there's 3 different bits. Anyone else? Everyone's convinced of your explanation, I think. Do you know what? There's actually 2 different bits inside. And the third drink that I made was just mixing the 2 bits. So to be able to see what's going on, actually, does anyone know how I accessed the 2? Does anyone see what I was doing to access the 2 different bits? Yeah, I was covering 2 different holes. So you might be able to see there's a hole there and there's a hole under there. So if I cover up this hole, now forget which one it was. What did I do? That one's milk, if I cover that hole. If I cover that hole, then I get coffee. And if I cover no holes, then I get milky coffee. And there is a 4th drink. If I cover both holes, that's the null drink. There's no drink there. So, but how does it work? How is that possible? To explain how it's possible, I've created this 2D transparent version, okay? So maybe you can see that there. There we go. So both the chambers, there's a top chamber and there's a bottom chamber there. And they both lead up to the spout here, so I can pour both of them out. But this chamber here, there's a hole here as well. And this chamber has a hole here as well, right? So it goes up through the handle like that. So if I put my fingers over both holes like that, I should be able to tip it and nothing comes out. There you go. Okay, so it is slightly leaky, which that's pretty bad if it's poisonous, like, you know. So if you're going to do it, buy the proper one. Don't make one of these. So why? But okay, let me show you this working then. So if I cover just this hole, I should get there you go, the poison drink, which worryingly has dribbled into the non-poisonous drink. And then there you go. There's the non-poisonous drink. I would be dead now, wouldn't I, if I tried to do this? By the way, if you're going to use this to poison someone, pro tip: don't use different colored liquids, because that's a giveaway. But why is that? Why is it that if I put fingers over different things, different things happen? Actually, this is something you're probably familiar with. You may have done it just if you're like playing with straws and stuff. Let me pour all this into you. There we go. Get some more. So if you get a straw and you put it into a drink, you put your finger over the top, drink comes out. And then when you let go, it pours out like that. Does anyone know why that is? Does anyone know why it is that the drink doesn't come out? Yeah, there's a hand up at the back.
Tea?
Because of gravity, Do you know what? Gravity's definitely involved, because you'd expect the gravity to pull the liquid out, right? So why doesn't gravity pull the liquid out when my finger is over the top? Well, intuitively, I think we all know that the liquid can't come out unless air can get in to replace the liquid that came out. But why is that?
It's actually it's to do with air pressure. It's to do with two things. There's air pressure, because like if the liquid is going to fall out under gravity, like you say, the gravity is going to pull the liquid out. Well, that's going to stretch this air in here, isn't it? The air is going to get stretched in there. So the pressure inside there is going to go down, which means the pressure inside is lower than the pressure outside. So that means that the pressure of atmosphere is going to push the liquid back in. So there's a balance there that stops the liquid coming out. You might think, well, why doesn't the air just get in through the bottom? Just bubbles go up. And that's because of surface tension. You may have played with surface tension before. Like, I can overcome surface tension by sort of, going like that. But the simplest way to let water escape is to let air in through the top by letting go like that. So the Assassin's Teapot really is just two funny shaped straws that you can pour liquids out of. So there you go, that's the Assassin's Teapot. And that's the end of my magic trick. No, it's not, wait. I have something else to say. This is very important. This is also the basis of a magic trick called Think-a-Drink. Goes by a few different names. If you want to find out more about Think-a-Drink and other scientific magic tricks, you should check out Science is Magic. It's a brilliant book by me, Steve Mould. It's available in the bookshop. And if you buy one, I'll promise to sign it. All right, that's it. Thanks.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Good plug. I like it. But, thank you to everyone. Should we give them all another round of applause? Thank you. So what have we learned? Should we just have a quick recap? We learned from Matt that science and magic maybe aren't opposite sides of the coin. Maybe you need both of them working together, like your curved mirror that reflects, the magic reflects back the science and the science reflects back the magic.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's both about what Katie's saying about the wonder of the world.
Yes, and it's a good way to find it.
And Katie showed us kind of how maths can be magical and kind of the sums behind the spells, if you will.
Yeah, and the thing that I like most about a lot of the tricks that some of the ones I've shown and a lot of the other maths magic tricks you can see is that you can kind of make your own tricks, right? You can decide, instead of putting the cards in the middle each time, if you put them in a different place, the card will come out in a different place, and you can make a prediction about where it's going to be. You could cut out whatever shape you like, so that there's a lot of ways that you can put your own ideas into these things and create different magic tricks.
So we're talking about breaking reality and bending reality to your own shape and getting rid of your enemies.
Getting rid of your enemies is very important. You can use magic for all sorts of nefarious things, yeah.
Excellent. Top tip about not putting two different colours in. I like that, yes. But also quite a nice way to serve your coffee in the morning, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
And are these widely available? Or do you have to go to a specialist shop for an Assassin's Teapot?
There's a website called Grand Illusions that sells them, and I'm not affiliated with them. No. They don't sell my book, which is very sad. It's called Science is Magic, by the way. So it is available from Grand Illusions. I made a video about it, actually, and it did weirdly well, the video, and they just sold out for like 2 months or something. So they were sort of annoyed, but happy at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's really good, but I guess, we've explored the mysteries of magic, but have we got any closer to solving the mysteries? So at the end of every podcast, we do a little recap and we say, we set out to answer a question and we'll sort of solve a mystery. Do you think that, how do you think we've done? What have we learned? And how much more is there left to learn? So this is, I think in this case, it's a bit of a tricky thing, but what we have, we wheel out a device that we call our mysteryometer. Okay, it's an old cranky machine with some good sound effects, and it's basically a scale from 0 to 100. And on that scale, we ask our guests to estimate how well they think the mystery is solved and whether there's more to discover about this mystery. So if 0 on this mysteryometer means we don't know anything about it and there's everything left to explore and solve, and 100 is nothing more to discover, case closed, could I ask you each where on the scale of our invented mysteryometer you think we are?
I'm going to say smack bang in the middle with 50%. I think we can understand a lot, but I think there's loads more to discover, and I think I work with a lot of people who combine science and magic to make new discoveries, particularly in like the area of psychology. And I think that's a really exciting field of development. So I want to say there's another 50% of stuff we can still learn.
Nice opener, smack in the middle. 50-50, Katie, where are you going?
I think I'm going to say I kind of agree with Matt. Maybe slightly more than 50, maybe about 60%.
You're going to shade it towards.
I think, as well as the fact that, so we've seen examples of how you can see a magical effect, but then explain using science or using maths how that effect works. And a lot of the magic tricks that you see magicians do, as Steve loves to, you can look at it and kind of figure it out and understand it. But I think also somehow magic is helping us to do science as well. Because, we talked at the start about magical powers that we'd like to have, like invisibility and teleporting. But actually, when people have ideas like that, people come up with these magical ideas, people have built devices that let you make things invisible, right? We have stealth vehicles. People are working on chameleon technology and things like that. And just having this wonderful out there idea that couldn't possibly be real actually makes people think, you know what, I'm going to try and do that. And scientists then work and develop these ideas to try and make them real things. So maybe magic is helping us with science as well.
That's a very good point, yeah. And maybe one of you guys would make the first invisibility cloak. And that would help you, Matt, for just chilling out.
Social situations.
Steve, yeah.
So I was thinking about this. I was talking to my kids about butterflies and the way they transform, and all that sort of stuff. I'm very proud of how nerdy my kids are, by the way, always asking me questions about that. And at the end I said something like, it's quite magical, isn't it, how a caterpillar turns into a butterfly? And my daughter goes, so magic is real then, because science is real. I thought that was so brilliant. But it also made me think, if magic in that sense is just like the mysteries of the universe, the things we don't know yet, or even the things we do know but they seem magical, well then it's got to be zero, hasn't it? Because every time we discover something new, we figure out two things that we don't know. There's always more that we don't know than we do know.
The more we know, the less we know.
Well, exactly.
Which is kind of mystical and zen and quite a good way to sort of wrap it up, right? So, but you're also saying that Mysteries of Science podcast, you've got a long way to go. You've got a lot to do to save it.
Well, given that Steve said zero, he can be zero over there. We'll have 100 be.
Yeah, you go and stand there.
I'll stand here and be 100. Steve will be zero. And
I'm in the perfect position.
You're on the
exactly.
I'm 50. We'll stand where we're on the line, and then do you want to...
I'll go to zero.
Dan will walk down the line, and basically what we want all of you to do is clap or cheer or make a noise when he's got to the part of the scale where you think we are. So think about what you think the answer is, where you go 0 to 100. Dan's going to walk down.
And there should be, if this works, there should be a peak of noise at a certain point, which will tell us exactly where, on average, you guys think we are. So here I go, from 0, stepping off the Steve Mould mark into the unknown.
But they should be applauding already.
Okay, so a lot of people are behind there. Moving on towards 50%. I think it's growing. So we're on the 50, over to Katie's 60. Ooh, strangely quiet. A few last go. 70, 80. Well, it's almost silence, isn't it? So if I just put myself in reverse and go back, yeah. Just checking. I think you have split the difference and you've gone for a safe 50-50, which saves us from we've done a little bit of work, we've travelled a little bit of distance today, which is a good thing, I think.
Something.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well done, everybody, for that. You did a very good job with that.
Yeah. So thank you for coming today. If you haven't done so already, please check out the Mysteries of Science podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Do you want to talk about new mysteries to investigate?
Yes, we're always on the lookout for new mysteries to investigate. So if any of you have a burning question that you want the answer to, that you want us to investigate for you, then please do get in touch. You can send us a voice note online by going to funkidslive.com/mysteries and tap the big red button there.
Hopefully you'll tune in. I don't think you tune in anymore to anything, do you? You'll download the new episode. But until then,
stay curious. Hey.
Fantastic.
Brilliant. Well done.
That worked. And thanks again to the guests as well. Sorry. Nearly forgot about you.